All right, Vapesters, the wait is over. So tonight we are doing this year's definitive best-in-class Ecig mods. So if you're only going to watch one indoor smoker video, this is the one to watch. But I find indoor smokers tends to be like Lay's chips. Nobody can watch just one. So I have here before me laid out what I consider to be the best in-classes Ecig mods, starting with the most inexpensive and lowest wattage units, working our way up to the most expensive. And of course, can't forget the Sigelli 100 watt. We got at the high end there. So the idea here is that there's not a bad mod among them. All of these, I believe, are mods that anybody would be happy with. It all depends on your vaping needs and where you're at in your vaping journey. Are you just trying to get off cigarettes right now? Are you still into taking mouth to lung hits the way you would drag off a cigarette? Then something on this end is probably going to work best for you. If you're a big time sub-ohm vapor, been winding your own coils for years, then you're definitely going to want to do something like the Sigelli 100 watt. So I'm basically just going to go through the advantages, disadvantages of each one of these mods, tell you the price range and the vaping ranges of them so that you can make the decision for yourself what you think is going to be the best mod for you. Now these are loosely going to be based on price and wattage. Generally, as you get up to the higher wattage units, you end up paying a little bit more. So these are no exception, but the price and wattage, they may be a little bit out of place, you know, as depending on where you go to get them. But based on my experience and best judgment, this is how I would sort them. So let's go ahead and start with what I consider to be the easiest, most inexpensive way that you can get into vaping if you're somebody who is just looking to start. Now, like anything that's new to us, we tend to be skeptical, and I know a lot of smokers do not want to invest a lot of money just so they can try out vaping and possibly find out that they don't like it. So this is a great way for you to try out vaping, see whether or not it's something you think would work for you. Now you want to keep in mind that of course you can get more powerful batteries and tanks that are going to put out more vapor, but I think this will at least give you an idea of what vaping's about. And if you feel like this could work but you're not quite getting enough vapor, then as many people do, you'll just want to step up down the road. But this is a very simple, there is no adjustments whatsoever on this unit, and the nice thing is that this literally comes with everything you're going to need except for the juice. You've got your battery, your tank, and the charger all in one nice easy blister kit. So this is a very simple style Ego battery and EVOD glass tank. So the EVOD glass tanks are probably the best inexpensive tanks on the market in my opinion, and this entire unit generally runs right around $20. So that's basically a little mouth to lung hitter. You're going to draw on this just like you do with a cigarette, pulling the vapor into your mouth and then inhaling it. You're not going to get enough airflow on this, and the coils would not be able to handle full lung hits. But for somebody trying to get off cigarettes, this is probably the way you're going to want to vape anyway. And again, I do have full video reviews for every single mod we're going to look at today. So you guys can always go back and look at the full reviews if you want a little bit more information about any of these. But this is the EVOD glass blister kit. Now the next one we're going to look at is one of my favorite for an inexpensive all-in-one kit, the Ego ones. It comes with its own sub-ohm tank as well as a battery that is going to vape at 4.2 volts. And besides the price and the all-in-one ease of use, it is also just a great little fucking vaping device. So for right around $45 to $50 price range, you're going to get something that will allow you to sub-ohm vape. It also does have a 1 ohm coil available, so you can start out with that, move up to the sub-ohm if you want to. I do like the vapor level and the airflow on this for people who are just beginning to sub-ohm vape. You're not going to get those huge lung hits like you're going to get off the Atlantis 2 tanks or some of those that are just really the cloud chasing specialists. But for somebody just getting into the sub-ohm vaping or just stepping up to your first mod, I think it's going to be more than enough vapor. Now you're going to be able to get plenty of vapor, big clouds like that. The only limitation on this is that it does have a 1050 mAh battery, which means you're not going to have a ton of battery life. If you're a heavy smoker, smoking 2 packs a day or more, then you're probably going to want to get the 2200 mAh version of this, which is just a longer battery, give you a little bit more vaping time on it. The other downside, if you're hitting this thing really hard and having a huge session for like 10 or 15 minutes, the tank will tend to heat up. This does have a tendency once in a while to fire in your pocket, and if it fires for that 10 seconds, it's going to be freaking hot when it comes out. So I have heard from some people that don't like the fact that it gets so hot, but the vapor consistency itself I find to be cool and pleasant. So the next one on the list is the first of the variable wattage mods we're going to look at. Now we're getting into adjustability. I went ahead and went right to the 30 watt mod. The reason I skipped the 20 watt, I feel like it's only about $10 cheaper, and the 20 watt e-leaf is really kind of a tweener in my opinion. It can't sub-ohm vape, it doesn't read coils below 1, and it only has 5.5 volt of power, which means if you've got a 2 resistance tank, you're not getting that thing anywhere near 20 watts on the original e-leafs. So I would recommend people just go ahead and step up to the 30 watt. This is going to do everything. You can read resistances down to 0.3. You can use any of these popular sub-ohm tanks on it. Now this is going to cost right around the same 45 to 50 bucks as this Ego 1. The reason I consider this to be a more expensive mod is because you don't get a tank with it. So you can end up spending 30 to 40 bucks easy on one of the popular tanks nowadays. So this could make this, you know, closer to a $60, $70 unit by the time you tanked up and all that. And I can go ahead and switch this Ego 1 tank over. And I like the Ego 1 tank on just about anything I vape it on. Although, like I said, it does have a tendency to warm up a little bit. So it's reading this at exactly 0.5. And I have it set for 30 watts right now. But still a fantastic vape, and as you can see, even more vapor production than you're going to get off the Ego battery itself. This may be the ultimate Ecig mod if you're going to take into consideration price, size, and vapor production. Possibly the pound for pound, dollar for dollar best mod on the market right now. Last year I had actually done the Indo award for the e-leaf 20 watt, but I do think there's enough advantages with this 30 watt that it's worth the extra $10, and it is a far superior mod to the original 20 watt. So next on the list is actually a brand new mod just brought to the market from Ecig. It is the Coolfire 4 40 watt mod. It should be of around that $40 to $50 price range. This is actually much more precise in reading ohms than the 30 watt. It's going to do it within hundredths rather than just in tenths. So I have the 0.5 resistance iSub glass tank on here right now. It is reading it as a 0.47 resistance, and I have it set at 35 watts. I'll go ahead and show you guys a vape off of this. So not only can you get more vapor, but you can get the vapor quicker with a shorter draw when you're able to get up on a higher wattage like that. I will go ahead and I'll max this thing out at 40 and we'll see how it does. You'll be able to make clouds up to about this big with this thing maxed out. Whew, God almighty. I'm gonna hope I get through all of these before I actually pass out. I'm getting some pretty good fucking vape hits. I'm using pretty much 6 milligram or 3 milligram e-juice in all of my tanks now. For those of you who have not been sub-ohm vaping, that's something you want to consider cutting down on the nicotine level because you are getting so much more condensed vapor in your hits. All right, next up for the best in class for the 50 watt, we have the e-leaf 50 watt here. Now if I'm going to max out the rest of these mods for you, I'm going to have to bring in a heavy hitter tank. This is the Atlantis 2 Mega. I was reading this as a 0.3 resistance. I have it at 50 watts right now. I'm going to go ahead and give this thing about a half airflow lung hit. So we're running about $60 price range for this e-leaf 50 watt. For the price range, versatility, and the compact size, I would have to give best 50 watt mod to the e-leaf 50. And let's see at 50 watts what you can do with this. So that is not much more vapor probably than we're getting with the 0.5 resistance at 40 watt, but that is because we aren't maxing this tank up yet. If you're going to be using the 0.2 resistance coils, you're really going to want something that's going to go up to at least 60 watt and beyond, I would say. All right, Vapestas, now we're getting up into the true heavyweights with the 60 plus watts. So this MVP 3 Pro is kind of a unique one in its weight class. Sort of like the e-leaf 30 watt was the best for the lower classes, kind of pound for pound, dollar for dollar. I'd probably put this MVP 3 Pro in that same type division. Not only is it going to read ohms all the way down to 0.2, vape up to 60 watts. It has 4,500 milliamp hours of built-in battery power. You're not going to need a separate charger. You can charge this right off the micro USB cord that comes with it. And in addition, this has one feature that no other mod here has, and that's the ability to be a backup power source for your other electronic devices like cell phones, game systems, things like that. I've even been known to charge my camcorders off of this thing a couple of times when I've run out of power in the middle of a video. I guess you could say that the eLeaf 30 watt is like the Sugar Ray Robinson, and the MVP3 Pro is like the Ali. Best in class. But it does have that 60 watt limitation, and there are people who are going to want to vape higher than that, so we are going to go up to 100 watt vape next. But then you're going to be dealing with having to get batteries and a charger, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. Another great feature about this that puts it a little bit ahead of the others in its class is the fact that it is so accurate. With its ohms meter, it reads all the way down to hundredths rather than tenths, reading this resistance on the Atlantis 2 Mega as a 0.28 resistance. So even at 60 watts, we're just pushing 4.17. For me, this is just about perfect because it does allow me to use the lower resistance coils so I can do videos and things, but then it vapes great on the 0.5 resistance, which is something I'm using more often now. But of course, it can still vape all the traditional tanks, your Nautilus Aspire Minis, your Aero tanks. The nice thing to remember with the higher wattage mods is that you can always go down and vape them at whatever watts you want. Most of them start around 6 or 8 watts. So these can do everything that the stuff at the lower end of the vaping spectrum can do, but these things can't necessarily do everything that the stuff at the upper end can do. But anyways, this is what this can do. So that is the Atlantis 2 Mega, not even on a full airflow. At 60 watts, you're getting tons of vapor, but I know pushing this thing up into the 90s and open it up full throttle on the Sigelei 100 watt, we're gonna get an even bigger cloud than that. And we be moving on up to the Sigelei. And again, for a price range, we're probably looking at right about 75 bucks now that you're getting up to the MVP3 Pro, starting at around the 20s, 40s, 50, 60, 75, and now we're getting up to $100 mod. But I gotta warn you guys, that price is even deceptive because you're gonna end up spending a lot more money than that by the time you get the batteries and the chargers that you're gonna need for this. I'm not gonna get into a bunch on battery safety and what type of batteries you need to get for this. If you really don't know much about it, then I would recommend one of these all-in-one units with the built-in batteries, because they're gonna be designed to vape at what they're able to vape at. You won't be able to push them beyond what their recommended specs are because they all have automatic shutoffs for things like that. Just for those of you who do know what's up, I'm using the brand new Aspires super high drain batteries. If you guys haven't seen them, very nice batteries, so I know these will work. And I don't have any tanks that recommend vaping at above 100 watts, so this is the highest wattage mod that I have. Those of you who are interested in doing something bigger than that, or the mechanical stuff, you're gonna wanna go visit Rip Trippers or one of those guys. As far as clouds go, I'll take you this far. Now that's a whiteout. All right, now we are needing at 70 watts to go up a little bit on the airflow, so I'm gonna turn that up to full. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go up to 80 watts on this. And it is reading this coil at a 0.3, so not quite as accurate as the MVP3 Pro, but accurate enough for jazz, or at least accurate enough for vape. So right now I've got it on 80 watts, vaping at 5.1 volts. So this is some serious vapage right now. Whoo! I'll max it out and we'll do 95 watts. I think that's a pretty good range. It's going to be pushing it up in the mid 5s. 5.5 volts, 95 watts, 0.3 resistance coil. So this is the only mod here that's going to allow you to take a tank like the Atlantis 2 Mega all the way to its full maximum potential, which is somewhere around about here. Now personally, I think it was a better vape at right around 75 watts with that extra mouthpiece air closed, but you might be pushing a further vapor cloud a little bit bigger with the full max going at 95. I think we set off the smoke alarms on that one. Damn! Alright guys, as you can see, there's a level of vape for every vapor out there. Wherever you're at, just trying to get in the game, don't want to spend much money, or looking to step it up and get into some of the higher wattage sub-ohm vaping, there's going to be something here to fit everybody's needs. And I already told you guys, my pick would probably be in the lower price ranges, the eLeaf 30 watt, or in the higher price range, the MVP3 Pro, just because I think you're going to get the most out of your vape for the money with those two. But the other ones work awesome. One of my personal favorites is the Ego one still. And that is, of course, not being 100% sure what the price range is going to be for that Coolfire 4. If that comes in within a few dollars of the eLeaf 30, that might be something to consider as well, because it is a little more precise and goes up to 40 watts. So don't forget, I'll have all the links for all the products we looked at today down in the description box, or I like to call it the crotch box. You can figure out why. And if you're just thinking about getting into vaping, don't be deterred by too many choices and options. Grab something at one of the cheaper ends. For $20, it's good enough to give you an introduction to vaping, and it's not much expense if you're going to step up to one of these other mods in another couple of months. So there you have it, Vapestas. All of your mods, from the non-adjustables all the way up to 100 watt and everything in between. If you can't find something here you like, then you're just hard to please. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more product reviews, news, and giveaway opportunities. We're doing giveaways for the MVP3 Pro right now, and we're going to be doing a giveaway soon for the new Coolfire 4 over on the Twitter and Facebook. So don't forget to follow me on social media. Now have a great vaping day and get out of here before I pass out.
And don't forget to subscribe to IndoorSmokers. Come on, well, what else have you got to do? Seriously.
I think I'll vape myself for this video. I feel like I did in junior high after having my first cigarette. My dad made me smoke the whole pack. I came back a couple hours later, said, I'm finished. You got another one? That's how I became a 2-pack-a-day smoker for the next 20 years.